Folks, Jared Petty here alongside.
Brian Altano. Hi, how are you, Jared?
I am fat and sassy today. How are you, Brian?
I'm sassy and fat.
Well, there we are. Then between the two of us, we are double sassy, double fat. If only we could reach squared or even cubed status. Cube steak, perhaps. Anyway, forget cube steak. We're looking at the big city here in Donkey Kong for the Game Boy, often called Donkey Kong 94, one of the finer puzzle platformers I've ever had the privilege to play. Brian, you like this game?
Oh, man, do I like this game. I absolutely love this game. Donkey Kong 94, or as I called it back then, Donkey Kong, is one of my favorite games of all time ever made by Nintendo.
Wow. Wow, really?
Yeah, hands down. Easily one of my favorites. So what this does is it sort of it begins with what the original Donkey Kong set up as a premise, which was, have Mario, have him get to the top. And that was it, right?
Right.
Now, what it added in this game is a slew of acrobatics that Mario was pretty much unable to do in Donkey Kong, which, was just a game where you could jump and swing a hammer, and that was it.
Right. He's got a lot more mobility here. They're building on, this is being recorded for the 125-year history of Nintendo. We're celebrating that right now. And they built on one of their legacy from the early 1980s in this 1994 game by taking the basic abilities of Mario, and you saw him throw the hammer up right there. Well, there he is doing a handstand, a backflip.
Yeah, lots of cool moves you can do here, like that one.
Yeah, it's actually thinking about the time period this game was made between Super Mario World and Super Mario 64, and you start to see some of those same. Look at that. Okay,
yeah, there's definitely a lot of influence from Mario World and Mario 64 in this game, especially the sort of like triple jumps, backflips, all that cool stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of blew my mind when you first play this game. It starts off with the original 4 Donkey Kong levels from the arcade game.
Yeah.
And you realize Mario's got a little more mobility than usual.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, Mario. Because he kind of, honestly, in Donkey Kong for the arcade, he moves like he's got cement shoes.
Yeah.
If he falls too far, he dies. He doesn't jump very well.
Yep.
Where up on here, he's kind of a freaking ninja.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Something else this game adds is boss fights.
Yep. And
like this one, which are really cool.
So he stomps the ground, things fall from the sky. And, okay, look at this. This is being rendered here. We're using a Retron 5 for the HD capture, but these colors are from the Game Boy player tab. Pardon me.
Super Game Boy.
Super Game Boy. I can't speak today.
I got you.
Thank you. Palette.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So a cool thing about this is original Game Boy games are obviously black and white, or puke green, as you remember then. Oops.
Yeah.
Amateur move there. This might get ugly.
That's right. You're gonna turn them
but the Super Game Boy came out and allowed developers to actually put a certain amount of extra colors on the cards. Wow.
Right.
So that's why in this case you actually see each level has its own sort of like 4-color control palette plus a few extra colors on top.
Right,
now when you get to the menus and the bonus stuff, stuff that's a little more static, you actually get to see a lot more colors in there. So it's pretty cool. And I used to love playing this game on the Super Game Boy because it was one of those games that had its own border baked in.
Yeah.
So now the Super Game Boy was a peripheral you plugged into the Super Nintendo, allowed you to play Game Boy games on your TV for the first time ever, which if you were a kid like me growing up who played a lot of Game Boy games, you only had to play them on a tiny screen all the time.
Which was not backlit, which had some problems with ghosting, honestly. Playing them on a television made them much better because the Game Boy library, the Game Boy is one of my favorite handhelds.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite, really, means of playing games, period. Beyond the PC and the original Nintendo DS, the Game Boy is probably my favorite. It was a very limited machine in terms of its hardware. Little Z80 processor, just a little bit of RAM, I think 8K, and that four shade of pea green palette. And yet they were able to utilize that along with some really clever sound programming and some wonderfully inventive gameplay. They created a lot of real classics like this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just sort of amazing to see what people could pull off on this thing.
Yeah.
And this is one of those games, it may look kind of primitive, but like the sprite art is great. The animation's awesome. And there's just a lot going on. And one thing I really like about this game is it retains a lot of the feel of the original Donkey Kong, right?
Yep.
Like you've got those 3 items that Paulina leaves behind in every stage in Donkey Kong, which is the hat, the purse, and the umbrella that she presumably loses on the way to the top of getting kidnapped. And you have the option of collecting them in each stage in this game. And doing so unlocks cool bonus levels like this.
Yeah. Which, by the way, again, with that Super Game Boy template, just looks wonderful.
Yeah, so every time this game can kind of pull back a little bit, it allows itself to flex a few more colors than we're used to.
Now, I have finished this. Is what, about 100 levels, if I remember
It's
right?
actually exactly 100
Yeah,
levels,
that's what I thought.
and I have all of them memorized. which is crazy.
You know, it's yeah, you play a little arcade puzzler like this, you don't expect quite that much content. Reminds me, honestly, that they went to inspiration with Donkey Kong. They also borrowed a lot from the original Lode Runner, not the Nintendo version of Lode Runner that was done by Hudson so much as the original Broderbund one. There's a lot of similarities here. And it is, I mean, look at this. He's building the ladders as he goes. There's a fluidity to it. This is really just great. Watch it. What else makes this game fun?
Oh, dying.
No, you know, Mario can fall farther than he does in the original Donkey Kong, but unlike an ordinary Mario game, he cannot fall forever without perishing. So you'd have to be careful.
Yeah. So this is cool. It's actually it keeps going from what Donkey Kong did originally, which is you're just basically on this construction site, but it extends that into a bunch of different settings. Now it's weird because when you play Mario games, you see him go to, you know, Rainbow Road and Chocolate Field and all these weird fantastical places.
Yeah.
But in this game, you go to locations like City and Forest.
City, yeah, wonderfully generic.
There we go. That's what I needed to do.
Oh, right there. You built it up right?
Yeah.
All right, you're going to make it up this time. He's going to
now,
climb up,
we
not
just
fall
have
to his
to
death.
hope I have enough time to do so.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
So you got to bring that key to the door, and then you're out. And this game, it got a few sequels. To me, they sort of got a little more off the rails each time. There was Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Minis March Again. You know, a lot of these games that became sort of touchscreen, almost Lemmings-inspired games. But this is the OG. You know, like, this is the original Mario and Donkey Kong game, and it was just you're right in between being that sort of Mario that can platform to great heights and never get hurt, and the Mario in the original Donkey Kong, you can't do anything, because if you do fall from somewhere kind of high here, you are dead.
Yeah. I think that, honestly, this game didn't receive as much exposure as it could have because it came out 5 years into the Game Boy's lifespan.
Yeah.
I mean, the Game Boy had a long life. Pokemon extended it significantly. But nonetheless, by the time this came out, during this period, there was not a lot of focus on the Game Boy. And so I think a lot of people missed it, and it's a real shame. If this had been an old arcade game from the early 80s or something, we'd be talking about it as one of the all-time greats, which it really is. Guys, if you're going to try out a Mario game, if you're looking through that back catalog and you're like, well, there's some I never got to do, this is the one you've missed. This is the great one that you haven't played.
Exactly.
So really, guys, go out, find it. It's not expensive. It's not particularly rare or hard to find.
Yeah.
The cartridge is pretty readily accessible. It's also available on the 3DS Virtual Console.
It is, yeah. You can play it right there.
That's a great place to play it.
Just a few bucks.
So, Brian, anything else to add to this?
No, I just want to point out that I'm absolutely dominating this game, and I haven't played it in a few years, so it's so good. This is one of the only games I had on the Game Boy where I beat it. I 100%ed each save file along the whole row.
Oh, wow.
Just had to do it.
You are pretty superb at this, just watching it play.
Thanks,
here.
man.
This is kind of spectacular to watch. Oh, let's see what happens in this final stage.
Yeah, we're going to stick through this boss fight.
Stick through the boss fight here. All right, so you're going to grab the roll. And you see the boss fight. Oh, look, Mario 2. Shades of Mario 2 right there. Do you see that? Picking it up.
Oh.
Well, on the other hand.
Guess I'm not that good.
Your hubris has turned against you.
True. Well,
you have failed this city. All right, so I hate myself for saying that. Folks, thanks for watching. Continue to watch other things we've got on Nintendo's 125th anniversary. And
again!
Oh! And for all of Brian Altano's failures, keep it locked to IGN.
Bye.